Hello guys, so this is our 10th meeting. It's about in semantic subjects, of course. So our session is about meaning and cognition. It's about categorization and cognitive semantics. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So, semantics of categorization. Categorization is an important topic in semantics because language can be seen as means of categorizing experience. A word like flower, for example, categorize an indefinitely large number of different entities in a word as an example of a single kind of things. So the category, when if you, for example, flower, the actual types of flower vary widely. Think of the difference between a tulip, for example, a carnation, or a sunflower, but there's difference in no way affect in the categorization of all types as flowers. The same is true of the other lexical categories. The types of action might describe by saying I am writing, for example, cover a white ring, filling a form with a biro, and then typing on the keyboard, something like this, drawing letters in freshly poured concrete with a stick, for example, and sitting in front of the blank sheet of the paper with a pen, wondering how to begin a sentence. So for both linguists and psychologists, it is a question of considerable interest how such natural language categories arise. So, what principles govern what may and may not be categorized under the single word like flowers or right? In this section, we explore an answer to this question from the perspective of a conceptualist theory of meaning, which sees the origin of language categorized in the nature of human psychology. 1. Classical categorization. Standard logical approach to language, like the one discussed in chapter 6, are two-valued approach. This means that only recognize truth values, true and false. On the approach, any proposition must either be true or false, right? And there is no room for the proposition to be partly true and partly false, or true in some respect but false in others. And the true valued approach goes hand in hand with the classical view of definition. The classical view was summarized as follows by Fritsch in his 1903 work Foundation of Arithmetic. So the definition of concept based to him, according to Fritsch, must be complete. It must unambiguously determine as regards under any object whether or not it falls under the concepts, and there must not be any object as regards which the definition leaves in doubt whether it falls under the concept. Though for us men with our defective knowledge, the question may not always be decidable. We may express this metaphorically as follows. It is so hard to pronounce it, and the concept must have a sharp boundary. Next, we have another way of, so the first one is, what is it? it's about classical categorization. And then the second, let's move on to the second one. It's about the problem the, the problem with classical categories. The classical view of categorization is open on a number of criticisms. First, there are remarkably few examples of adequate definition in the classical mode. In fact, as discussed in chapter 2, some researchers doubt that there are any. So, there's some problem about classical categories. And then number 3 is about prototype categorization. The idea of uh, the prototype categorization most strongly associated with the psychologists, so impressed by one of any observation about meaning made by philosopher and investigation. So the result of comparison between different types of games, just like we see as complicated network of similarities overlapping and cross-crossing, and he compare the relationship between games to the family resemble that exists in the outward appearance of members of the same family. Next, problem with prototype categorize. So we have problem identifying the attributes and accounting for category boundaries and scope of prototype categorization and prototypes and formulating definition and prototype experience and metalinguistic belief. So that's all for the problem. That's all for the problem of prototypes categorized. And next about language and conceptualization cognitive. So it has commitment of cognitive semantics and idealized cognitive models, embodiment and image schemas, and metaphor and metonymy, radial categories in word meaning. And next, problems with cognitive semantics. Actually, you can read it in your module for the full description. I only read you about the brief description, and then I think that's all. Bye bye.